Navy Federal is going to start closing more accounts if people keep doing stuff like this.
21 people from Shreveport are named in an alleged bank fraud scheme by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
In this video, we're going to talk about the recent rise in bank fraud and how people are doing it with banks like USAA and Navy Federal Credit Union. Now, don't get me wrong, fraud has been going on for years, but the problem is there's been a huge increase of people that are simply not military. Let's get right into it. So as you all can see right here, it says 6 Navy Federal members face felony fraud charges. The members allegedly deposited fake checks into their accounts after targeting elderly bank customers. So here's what happened. Federal prosecutors alleged that 6 members of the $178 billion Navy Federal Credit Union were involved in a bank fraud scheme with 15 other people, who allegedly stole an estimated $200,000 from 3 banks and the Vienna, Virginia-based financial cooperative. They're talking about Navy Federal. An indictment announced last month by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Shreveport, Louisiana, alleged that 4 of the 21 suspects worked with the 3 employees of the teleperformance call center in Shreveport to obtain account information related to USAA bank customers. In short, they were looking for people who had high account balances and that were above a certain age because they assumed they probably were not checking their accounts as often as someone else would.
21 people from Shreveport are named in an alleged bank fraud scheme by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
And Jackie, good evening. The indictment alleges widespread fraud that began with 3 former teleperformance employees in Shreveport targeting our most vulnerable population.
It's not a cops and robbers type case, but one that is necessary. These defendants in the indictment returned yesterday defrauded veterans and a bank founded by veterans.
The U.S. Department of Justice is cracking down on elder abuse. Attorney General Brandon Brown says grandparent scams, home repair scams, and obtaining personal information to scam others is a growing issue across the country.
A federal grand jury panel here in Shreveport returned a 7-count indictment style United States v. Destiny Glass et al., where the grand jury charged 20 individuals with conspiracy to commit bank fraud.
Arazia Gully, Zara Watkins, and Maya Green are 3 teleperformance employees who allegedly led the scheme, taking advantage of access the business has.
These employees had access to USAA bank customers' bank account information, such as full names, ages, account balances, and account numbers.
According to the indictment, for nearly 2 years, the 3 former teleperformance employees spearheaded a scheme conspiring with 4 other individuals who then recruited about 14 others to target USAA bank customers and other federal banks.
These individuals collectively intended to cause almost $7 million in loss to USAA Bank and their customers.
And according to U.S. Attorney Brown, someone convicted of bank fraud could face up to 30 years in prison and a fine of up to $1 million.
Real quick, if you're looking to improve your credit score, qualify for homeownership, lower your car payment, or get a high limit credit card, then you most definitely want to join my private community. To learn more, go ahead and scan this QR code right above here or click the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Now, some of the people who got arrested actually worked for a telemarketing company that had access to this account information from USAA. So this is what they would do. Using this account information, some of the co-conspirators made counterfeit checks drawn on the USAA bank accounts. They also used social media and other methods to recruit individuals who were willing to have the counterfeit checks deposited into their bank accounts in exchange for money. Now, I don't know if you guys remember all the fraud that was going on around the pandemic, right? 2020, 2021, early parts of 2022. And I did see some flashes on social media where people were talking about, oh, you know, my Cash App has this amount of money. My bank account has this amount of money. And so this wasn't just happening at Navy Federal and USAA Bank. This was also happening at some other banks too. Let me show you. So 15 other suspects also deposited counterfeit USAA bank checks into their accounts at Chase Bank and Bank of America. So this is what they did. They tested it out first to see if it's going to work. And then they start getting other people involved. Check this out. According to prosecutors, Shamaya Pouncey deposited a fake $10,000 USAA bank check into her Navy federal account June 13, 2022. On that same day, someone else allegedly deposited a phony $15,000 USAA bank check into her Navy federal account. A few days later, June 18th, McGinty and Charmaine Jackson were at Bally's Casino in Shreveport, where they withdrew $7,000 from McGinty's credit union account. Now, why y'all gotta use Navy Federal? Then on June 21st, Kyra Bates deposited a counterfeit $16,000 USAA bank check into her Navy Federal account. $16,000. 2 months later. Now check this out. They probably would have got away with it at some point if they just would have stopped. But you know how it goes. It never ends, right? So 2 months later, on August 2nd, Navy Federal member Shamarian Taylor deposited a fake $18,000 USAA check into her account. And on August 17th, Tramika McGinty deposited a phony $5,000 check in her Navy Federal account, according to the indictment. All 6 Navy Federal members who live in Shreveport were each charged with 1 felony count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud. They are scheduled to be arraigned on the charges in federal court. Now, these are the things that we have to stop doing with Navy Federal. Now, here's a list of things that people need to stop doing with Navy Federal Credit Union. Number 1 is inviting people to the credit union that you think or know that are shady. So if you got that cousin, that friend, that family member, whomever, that is trying to essentially get into the credit union using your invitational code, right? And then you have an idea that they are shady. For example, you know who shady people are, right? They always trying stuff. They always got some scheme or scam or something like that. Do not, I repeat, do not do anything to try to help them get into Navy Federal. What they're doing is on the back end, they're starting to see all the fraud or types of things that people are doing, and they're looking to see how these people actually got into the credit union. Number 2, make sure that any hack or strategy or something that you're trying, make sure it sounds legit to you. It's perfectly fine to hear something from someone, some advice, reading a blog, reading a website, watching a video on YouTube, and then saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and try this. But make sure that it sounds legit to you. And it's okay to actually double check or maybe even triple check some of the information. For example, we have a video right now on our channel where it talks about things that Navy Federal does not tell new members. OK, and it's not that they don't necessarily tell them. They don't walk them through these things. And there's a lot of people, especially brand new people that are with Navy Federal, and they're trying to figure out what should I be doing as a new member. That's a perfect video to start with. OK, and that's just an example. There's plenty of other videos out here. But again, if something does not sound legitimate to you, make sure you double check, even triple check that information. Here's the deal. If Navy Federal Credit Union, if they keep seeing this type of fraud, it's only a matter of time before they say, you know what? We're no longer allowing non-military people to be in this credit union. That's why they have a lot of these perks. It's not just because they're a credit union. It's because they have so many members. There's so much cash flow coming in that they can provide certain perks and they can provide certain opportunities for their members. It's when people take advantage of that and they don't have good intentions. I'm telling you, we've got to keep that out of there, because if you don't, then what's going to end up happening is they're going to start looking at how these people became members in the first place. And not only that, but potentially saying, you know what, we're only going to allow military people, spouses, and very close family members, and not just someone that you know, so you can kind of backdoor the way in to Navy Federal.